Hey there, folks. You have just me today because my job today, this time around for this episode, is just to introduce the fabulous Dan Meyer, who we just had on a webinar. We recorded the webinar, so we're going to kind of replay that webinar here in the Math on the Rocks podcast feed, I guess. I wanted to kind of introduce it though. There's a legend. Legend has it that on the top of the door of Plato's Academy, there was a sign that said, "Let no man ignorant of geometry enter here." And I think that there's this like we have this metaphor that in order for students to be successful in math, we have to kind of squeeze them through Plato's door. That idea of you have to fit in order to be in the math club, and as a result, it kind of looks like this. We're just trying to cram people into this very narrow doorway, and because the doorway is so darn narrow, it means some people are just not going to fit. And I'm wondering if there's a way that we can think of math as this, the entry into the math club as being this really wide door, a huge palatial door that everybody can fit in. That way, math doesn't have to be so, I don't know, like this rarefied air that only a few people can access. That really math can be something that is accessible and is inviting to everybody. And it was with this in mind that this kind of this thinking, Dan, he talks about in this webinar. He talks about how to invite students into more effective math learning, and I'm going to put into like the emphasis. It's how do we invite students into the more effective math learning. So yeah, effective math learning is important, but how do we invite students? How do we make sure all students have access and are invited and are able to fit through that door? It doesn't have to be a narrow doorway like Plato's Academy. It could be a wide, expansive doorway. And so that's what this webinar is all about. So we, on behalf of Cole and Scott and me, I hope you enjoy listening to Dan's talk.
Thank you to everyone for joining us for the Inspiring Math Minds, a virtual learning series hosted by the California Math Council Central Section. In addition to all of our partner county Office of Education, so thank you for all of our COE partners as well to helping us promote and recruit. And thank you for joining us today. We are very excited to have Mr. Dan Meyer joining us. Matthew Liberty in the house. And so super excited, Dan, to have you with us, and thank you for joining. And with that, without further ado, I'm going to turn it right over to you.
You should turn it over. Let's do it. Thanks for the intro, Cole. Appreciate you. Thanks for the invitation. Thank you all for being here. Wow. We got folks from outside of California, Cole. I thought we put the the bouncer at the door to keep the riffraff out. Keep it Cali only, Golden State pride. But no, it's cool. If we're known for anything here in California, it's our hospitality to strangers. So we're really happy to have whoever, come one, come all. I see some folks in the chat I respect enormously, old colleagues, new colleagues, a lot of cool thinkers. Just glad you're here. Thanks for joining me. I hope that this title of today's talk resonates with you because for me, I think it's grown to become the central challenge of my work supporting teachers or teaching kids when I do, making curriculum for kids, all of that. It's about the invitation. I think you folks understand, as I do, firsthand, many of you, that math class is a place where students feel distinctly invited or uninvited. There is not a lot of ambiguity for kids in math class, as there often is for other classes. I can recall being a student in chemistry or in biology or English, and like whether I felt an invitation from my teacher with the stuff we're doing often varied from day to day. Like some days it felt like it was clicking, other days like it wasn't, whatever. But in math class, I as a student felt invited for very nearly every single day of my time in K-12 math education as a student. I think there's other students, obviously I know there's other students who don't feel like, well, we'll just see what happens in math today. Maybe today I'll feel invited. It's more of a permanent condition for them where they feel like it's permanent. It has drastic effects on their ability to learn, their sense of themselves as learners and people. This is the challenge, how to extend an invitation that feels authentic. I think just as further wind up here, I think you folks know what it feels like to experience an inauthentic invitation. We talk a lot about authentic tasks, I think sometimes comes up. Authentic tasks. I don't really know what an authentic task is. I don't know what it means for an inanimate object to be authentic or not. It, like everything is authentically itself. But I know what it feels like for an invitation to feel authentic, where I am being welcomed with all that I've got, with all my messiness, imperfection, and weirdness, or for that invitation to feel inauthentic, where I feel like I'm invited under some very distinct and perhaps unknowable and unexpressed conditions, where I better bring only certain parts of myself and leave other parts at the door. Or an invitation that has attached to it some kind of agenda, some kind of a sales pitch, for instance. When you're on vacation, they want you to buy a tour package or something. Like, yeah, just come on in here. There's some free treats over here, but the invitation feels quite inauthentic. So that's the wind up for invitation. I know it's late, especially late for folks joining us from other time zones. So my commitment to you folks, my respect for you, is that I'm only bringing like high protein here, just high protein. I'm bringing some, like every slide is going to carry a lot of weight to it. I'm bringing classroom videos that I've spent a lot of time, recording, editing, excerpting, developing questions around. My commitment is that we will together learn a lot more about what it means to invite students into more effective math learning. The main thing to know, I mean, if I had to, if I fell over and couldn't complete the session here, I'm putting it on slide 2. The main thing to understand is that inviting students experience the invitation based on what math educators do with their thinking. It is, very nice to greet students with a customized high five at the door. That's great for getting on TikTok. But when it comes to it, students experience the invitation authentically or inauthentically based on what you do with their thinking, what kinds of thoughts you make space for and bring out. I think this has tons to do with the cognitive side of learning and also the social side of learning. 2 quotes I find very helpful regarding the cognitive effect of having your thinking invited that I want you to reflect on. And I'm very curious what you think about these 2 quotes. One is David Ausubel, a cognitive psychologist, telling us from all the way back in the 1960s, one of cognitive psychology's most enduring findings, which is that the most important single factor influencing learning is what a learner already knows. You've got to know what the learner already knows to influence their learning. Second quote here is from How People Learn, a gigantic compendium and condensation of all kinds of research about thinking published by the National Research Council. And they said that if students' initial ideas and beliefs are ignored, the understandings that they develop can be very different from what the teacher intends. 2 quotes to get to know you folks a little bit better. I see folks in your location, what you're up to. Got some folks from my alma mater here, Aggie Pride. So pumped to see you. I would love to know you a little bit better than just location, though. I want to know from you what single word most captures your attention between those 2 quotes. I'd love a word cloud, but I'll have to just do with scrolling through. Would you please not press enter? Please don't press enter yet. Don't do it. And what's going to happen is throughout our talk here, I'm going to offer you a waterfall prompt, which means you'll type it in, but not press enter. You'll type it in, just wait a second. This timer will go down 30 seconds, at the end of which we'll press enter. And that way, no one's thinking is kind of biased by others. Everyone feels some space to think about it and express themselves. Okay, here we go. 30 seconds might be a little bit long for one word, but we're getting good practice on the waterfall. Okay, hit it, folks, all you. Let's see. Woza. Okay, yes. Yeah, okay. Kyle, what you think here? Most popular word, what do you think? What are you seeing?
I'm seeing some ignored. I'm seeing some influence, some beliefs in here.
Yeah, beliefs ignored coming in strong there. Yep. I see you, Jamie. Uh-huh. Tatiana, Melissa, whole run of them on ignored. Yeah. Influence. Yeah, I think that's really significant. I'm just gonna I'm gonna attribute significance wherever I want to here. Like the feeling of being ignored is for some of you, for me, I think for students, a really potent one. Like the feeling of talking to someone, them not paying attention. I think here this idea that you have stuff to bring, you have stuff that is valuable, and it is not seen as valuable by the adult in the room. It's ignored. Let's talk about what it means to turn the ignore to an invite. Let's first talk about like what it means for your knowledge to have those early ideas, what you already know, invited. What I'm talking about is a line. There was a study where they shared with some students language from baseball of this sort right here. And what they found was a student's ability to comprehend this did not relate to as much to their reading comprehension strategies or how literate they were, but much more to their knowledge of baseball, right? So like one student here is rightly reading that in this context with this in mind, and the other might be thinking about something totally different. Okay, so this is the need to invite and see, like, what do these students know about the context of baseball? Let me offer you a picture of what it looks like an ideal exchange between a learner and a teacher. What it looks like is the students' thoughts are invited. And then the teacher takes those thoughts and in whatever form they show up in. So the teacher is a vacuum for student thinking, a detective for student brilliance, even in forms that don't look traditional or formal, and then takes those thoughts and revoices them, or attaches two ideas together, or attaches her own ideas to the student's ideas. The teacher is not meant to and should not withdraw from this exchange as a source of some knowledge and expertise, but adds her own expertise as a combination with the student's ideas, developing those ideas and bringing the student into the community, the broader community of mathematicians. This is, in my view, like every single productive interaction I've had with a student in a math class has looked like this. Every single one, in some form or another. The details matter. The surface similarities are crucial. But at their core, I was able to invite from students what they maybe didn't know that they had themselves, and then do the work to develop that with them. How learning often happens in math classes where students are not invited is that the student has ideas and they are not invited, and the student can't see the place to put them. What is the relevance of like what I know about baseball, for instance, or about patterns or numbers or shapes, or about what we learned last week, for instance, that might have been formed in some new and odd way in my head, or non-traditional way in my head? The student comes to realize my thoughts aren't invited here. They aren't welcome here. And this has issues then for the teacher, like that. Well, first of all, the student comes to realize that the teacher does not want to know the student in the student's fullness. The teacher is extending an inauthentic invitation, if the invitation is extended at all. The teacher's extended an invitation to the student to become more like the teacher, but to become a dim and fragile version of the teacher, because who's going to be more like the teacher than the teacher? You can never be a better teacher than the teacher, or more like the teacher than the teacher is. So it feels like I'm being asked to become a worse version of someone I don't even want to be. I want to be a better version of myself, not a worse version of you. And so then the teacher, meanwhile, is trying to develop thoughts that she does not understand, thoughts that exist in the classroom. These kids are thinking about stealing home as a burglar, breaking and entering, right? The teacher does not know those thoughts are out there, and is really developing thoughts by talking to herself, talking to her own knowledge, retracing her own developmental journey here, talking to herself, which, as you can imagine, for the student is ineffective and deeply unengaging. And how it appears, what happens to the student now, where the teacher feels like something is not connecting. I'm expending lots of effort in classroom management that I wouldn't normally. The ideas aren't quite right. The life has gone out from behind several students' eyes. And if the student wants to learn here, if the student has the energy to do the following, the student has to then go and find the teacher's thinking and drag it back to the student's own thoughts. So this teacher is talking about stealing home, but it's about a game, not about a crime. And the students got to make that connection for themselves. And that is a cognitive tax. It takes a lot of effort on the part of the student mentally. And a lot of students, especially at 2:30 p.m. on a Friday with summer a few months away, just don't have that in them. That's why it's on the teacher to invite of students and then connect the teacher's knowledge to the student's existing knowledge. In this moment, we see so much of teachers resorting to some just really humiliating practices of trying to put on a dog and pony show and dress the problems up and turn these ideas into a rap or something. I don't know, teaching like a pirate. And but the fundamental issue is not that the teacher's ideas haven't been dressed up enough. The fundamental issue is that the students' ideas have not been invited and are unknown to the teacher. So that's my rendering of the problem as we encounter it. Here's what I see as the solution. No one should write any of this down right here because it's just too obvious. The solution involves your curriculum and your pedagogy. One of those on its own is not enough. The curriculum defines the size of the door through which students can enter. The curriculum will define the shape of that door. Is it wide? Is it narrow? Is it tall? Is it short? Is the door, shaped in a certain kind of way to permit access to only certain kinds of students? And ideally, your curriculum just offers an enormous door to all kinds of students. Okay, but then the pedagogy, the curriculum is nothing if the teacher is standing in front of the door, not permitting students through, not welcoming students through. The door is wide, but the teacher's in front saying you, but not you, you, but not you. Let's look at both of these issues and how they play out, starting with, of course, the curriculum. Here's a problem I think about a lot. I don't know about you, but I get a distinct kind of invitation here. Like I feel parts of my brain feeling like, yeah, it's go time for you. And other parts of my brain and person saying like, hey, you need to take a step back. It's not your time right now, which means the fullness of me is not feeling invited here. I would love to know from you folks, again, with a waterfall, you can type this in, but don't press enter until the timer goes down. But why might a student find this problem uninviting? I predict we'll have a range of responses here that I'm really curious to know what we see pop out of you folks. So here it is, 30 seconds, over to you folks. Don't press enter. Hold on, don't press enter. Don't press enter yet. Oh my goodness, what's going on? Go ahead and hit it, folks. I got a tech issue for a second, folks, but you just chit chat. Have a look at the responses there. Kyle and Cole, what do you see going on there? What are the common threads while I get this booted back up?
Boring's coming in strong.
Yep. Anyone breaking that down a little further? Like boring, I get that, but I'm really curious about the mechanism. Why is it boring? We got to sort that out.
People are talking about no context.
Okay, no context. That makes sense.
Repetitive, I think is an issue there as well.
Yeah. Does not connect to their lives. Okay, let's see here. Overwhelming is one from Elena that I think I'm going to grab and think about, as is the no context and not connected to their lives. I think this is important. Lisa also, Hillstrom calls out overwhelming. Let's see here. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, super helpful. Lots of the same thing. Okay. Great. This is helpful. This is helpful to see where you folks are at, and not to be just too meta about things. But I hope that you feel right now a sense of invitation from me, that I'm interested in what you have to say, not just to further my own agenda here instructionally, but because I'm interested, because I think you'll help me learn even. And, whatever that does for you as far as a larger lesson here, so be it. Great. Here's the thing. I definitely get the idea that this right here does not have a context attached to it. And the connection to my life outside the classroom feels minimal. I want to just suggest, though, that this answer, I don't think serves us as well as I would like it to. Yes, there are lots of very enjoyable lessons that we teach students that have connections to their lives, that feel connected in that way. But there are lots that don't. And here I just want to offer you that one thing I could do in this moment is attach a real world application, about cereal boxes, about cereal. Y'all like cereal, right? And so here, now the problem's about cereal boxes. And then we could also say, for the students that are like, when will I ever use this? As they always say, I could offer them this, a math jobs call out, a serial inspector call out there, okay? So everybody's happy now, right? This right here, I get that it's somewhat superficial, the connection, and actually a lie when it comes to the math job. But I offer this to, I hope, point out that making a thing, quote unquote, real doesn't really change the game up all that much on this particular problem to make it feel more inviting. You still, I would imagine, feel like the same parts of your brain, the same thoughts, the thoughts that you might have. It's limited to the ones that are about calculation. Like that's the part of your brain, the one that thinks logically and abstractly in ways that are precise and formal and can be evaluated as correct or incorrect with nothing in between. That is the part of you that is invited right now. Whether that's here or here, there's only a certain part of your brain, your personhood, that is invited. And so what I want to note, what I think a lot of you know, is that we do a lot of work on the math marketing side of things. Extremely skilled marketers out there for mathematics. This right here is the ad AI generated for a Willy Wonka, Willy's Chocolate Experience in, I believe, Ireland. And this right here is what the experience actually looked like for the people who attended, which feels evocative to me of what the difference between math and math marketing is. And so I want to offer you a different way of thinking about the lack of invitation to that problem. And that is that it is already, the entire problem is pre-constructed. Like everything's there. Everything's already there, except for the student, and the student doesn't know where the room is for her, where the questions are already there, for instance. What we're answering is there. The information needed to answer the question, already there. The definitions, like we're doing surface area, not volume. It's everything's predefined. There's work examples somewhere else in the chapter about this, like your method ought to line up with the methods that have been offered. And we should not be surprised when students are like, hey, where's the room for me? So when I think about the invitation, what I think about is that this is a great problems for accessing a certain part of a kid, the logical, abstract reasoning side of that kid. I want to open space up for a more imaginative, speculative, intuitive, verbal side of the child that's not available here. There's no room for it. And so oftentimes what I do is create less. Like there is so much more here. There is a lot here. So I try to subtract that, not permanently, but just for a moment to allow a more expansive invitation to more students. So right here, I'm going to duplicate this slide. I'll duplicate it. And right here, what I'll do is just create a white rectangle. And the white rectangle, why a white rectangle? What will this do for us here? What it allows me to do is just start to play with the presentation and see, like, if I were to get rid of some stuff, what does that then offer us? Who does that then allow to be invited? I might get rid of these right here. This is the part where it says you're doing surface area. It's called a rectangular prism. Words that signal to the student, like, first of all, there's no room to talk about what we might do here. We're doing surface area. And also rectangular prism is a strong signal to the kid that math nerds only need apply. And the student might feel like, well, that's not me. I'm not invited here. See examples 1 and 2. That right there tells the kid there's one way and one way only to do this. It's in examples 1 and 2. I get rid of that. Not permanently, but it's still, hey, calm down. It's still there. It's right there, okay? Just for a second though, and let's see how this feels. I'm also gonna take this, and I do agree there's a lot going on, a lot of problems. Gonna bounce these again for now. No one freak out, okay? And then I'm gonna keep on, we can go too far with this. We can go too far with this, and it's like, so what do y'all wonder here? Let's go. What do you notice? What do you wonder, right? But I think it could be very effective to ask ourselves, what happens if we get rid of the numbers momentarily? Right here, right here, right here. And, like, I'm guessing you folks are more math educated than the median person in California or the world right now. So you yourself, I think, feel more comfortable than most with this kind of presentation. Some of you are like, it's Friday night, let's do it. This is your idea of fun. Come hang out at my place, all right? I feel that. But even still, I suspect that you in your, formal mathiness might experience this as like, this feels remarkably without agenda. The invitation here feels much more authentic than here, where the door to enter the party is shaped only like a nerd. And right here, we are able to ask students things that we just can't ask them here. What are questions we can ask students here that we can't ask them here? We can ask them the question like, what are the ways these are different? Or what do you notice? What do you wonder? We can ask students, for instance, to make it more concrete, to funnel it a little bit. I'm really curious which one of these is bigger. Like, which do you think is biggest here, and which is smallest? And you're just never going to see a word like bigger in a math textbook because it doesn't have a precise mathematical meaning. Whoops, I'm back on this one. But that can be the point here, or the point is we can say to students, what do you think, what does biggest mean to you? When you say that like 8 is biggest, are you thinking about its height? Are you thinking about its possible weight, its volume, its surface area, its length, height, width? What are you thinking about? And students will ideally feel your authentic curiosity about them. And what I'm not doing here is saying you should follow the student's curiosity wherever it takes you in the class. Like, you do need to exercise some direction over the lesson so that you can bring students into the broader community of people who think mathematically in the world. But you can carve out for yourself a small but increasing size of your lesson to say, without agenda, I'm just curious what kind of thoughts are out there. And what you might find is that what people will bring you is then a resource for you. You're able to connect and develop thinking better when you're able to refer to what students have said. So one of you said, like, you're thinking about how much covers it, like, let's talk about that. Which of these, if they were gifts and you were wrapping them, which of them would require the most wrapping paper? Remember how one of you thought one was taller and not as deep? Like, these all feel like they matter. How can we use those to figure out what the surface area is, the wrapping paper coverage? So you can draw on what students have said as you start to make this more formal. And eventually you decide, okay, like, here it is. And you might show examples 1 and 2. I don't know. My point here is not so much how to develop student thinking, but how these kinds of problems inhibit the invitation. And just by removing of things, you can increase and broaden and make authentic that invitation. In doing so, you put the student, I don't want to say necessarily student-centered, but we are not following the student wherever they want to go, but we are saying there's room for the student here. And we're going to build our questions and information and definitions afterwards. Rochelle Gutierrez, I think, summarizes this really well, or rather, I'm trying to illustrate what Gutierrez has talked about when she talks about rehumanizing math in this volume, Rehumanizing Math for Black, Indigenous, and Latinx Students. She's talking about departing from pure logic, which is find the surface area. Given this definition of surface area, these methods and this information, find it, go. That's the pure logic, evaluated as correct or incorrect, and draw instead on voice, vision. What do you tell me? What do you see? Let's look at these and decide which one you think, when you're able to turn it around your hand, which one would require more wrapping paper to wrap. And intuition, just predict. It doesn't have to be precise and correct yet, but just predict. Make room for that. That is the curriculum. the curriculum part of this. And I do want to call out that I think the thing I've worked the longest on in this work of math education has been thinking about how digital technology enables how digital technology enables more room for students. And so I'm thinking about problems like this right here, like at teacher.desmos.com, where, for instance, in the cool down, the exit ticket, like it's fairly, like we're asking a question that has a right or wrong answer that drives towards logic and precision with proportions. But at the start, we're like, hey, so if you're making a pizza, what are some things you need? At the start, we're like, hey, drag the sliders, make your own pizza, you know? Oh, you gotta have some cheese. We can't let you go without cheese. Can you go without sauce? I got kids that do not like sauce. All right. You know, pepperoni and pineapple. If you wanna, you know, shove your thumb in the eye of God, like feel free, that's up to you. I could not. Anyway, this right here is a moment to draw out of students something that they are not used to being welcomed in math class. You can do this with paper. You can do this with digital activities. I'm just saying, notice where this goes. I promise you this goes somewhere that you might know more readily as math. It feels more mathy, but what we're trying to do every day is redefine what mathy feels like. Others, you know, mixing paint right here at the very end, the cool down, it's talking about, like, I mean, it's like, it is a problem out of a textbook, right? More or less, you know, they type in their answers and not a whole lot else happens. But at the start of this, we just invite students to draw or to create. Oh no, gotta stop that. Can't have that. I do love that our team that builds these, they dedicate so much attention to making sure that non-traditional or extreme answers have something interesting happen in response. Or I love this right here, where on the where we go here? Yeah, let me get the second one right here. But you get to use your color you created then, and it's like, okay, so mix 3 cups of ratio of 3 to 2, you need 20 of them, and I can type things in here, and we're looking for that exact same shade. You know, it's like, it wasn't enough. Maybe the right shade, but not enough volume. Anyway, I wonder what would happen if we typed in a really extraordinary number here. Let's see, 500. Gonna break. It's gonna break. Okay. Keep on going. Yeah, you know what time it is. Exactly. And there's students that don't feel welcome in class, who want to try that out, but then don't feel like they have space for that, or it's not sanctioned. Or Shear the Sheep, Shear Solutions on the cool down, like this right here, problem off of a test, off of a, you know, at a CASP or a worksheet. Like, I'm not saying this is something special, but this is so often the only kind of student or math that is invited. And at the start of this, we look at just a warm up here, and it says, you know, try this out to see what happens. It's a button that says try it. You know, how can you not smash try it? You know, you could put a button that says try it on the, you know, the back of a nuclear missile. I'm gonna smash it. I don't care. Like, I just can't not do that, right? So I press try it. Here comes there's a sheep. You can ask students, like, well, you know, what else can we try here? You know, and I love, like, for instance, I can go -2 here and gobble up some more of that grass. Okay. I can also, like, type in, you know, less than, and just something, just go nuts, right? Just go nuts. And what do you think? What'll happen here? And again, the laptop doesn't start smoking. We don't, like, cast judgment on the student, like, hey, can you get with the program and, you know, offer us a real answer? It's like, hey, yeah, that's math right there. And that's part of you that offered that. We're going to respond with something that values that and help you feel that invitation. So let's close up the curriculum shop there and just look at pedagogy. You know, at this point, by creating room for the concrete, the intuitive, the sensory parts of a student, we have created this gorgeous, you know, chocolate garden, right? It's just beautiful. You know, there's a chocolate fountain, chocolate river. Nothing bad could possibly happen here, only good things, right? But even still, the question is, does the teacher say, hey, you're welcome in here, come on in? Or does the teacher, in ways that are subtle and not so subtle sometimes, say, not like that, like you're not welcome like that? Again, what I'm saying is, the curriculum has fashioned a door. Like if the curriculum only contained the cool down problems there, that would be a narrow door for only logical and abstract thinkers. We've created a wide door that makes room for experimenters and try-iters, people like that. But still, the teacher has the ability to say, okay, can you not do that? Just don't do it like that, though. Or to skip past that screen in even a blunt way of retracting the invitation we'd love to see for students. So what I want to do is share with you, maybe 2, maybe 3. I just want to share with you, like, we've got teachers in our program. The vast majority of them, in fact, are making some exceptional invitations to students in experiences like Shira's solutions here. And what I'd love to do is get smarter with you folks about the pedagogy of invitation. So I'll share with you, I think 3 clips, maybe just 2. We'll see how the conversation rolls. But these clips are like 2 minutes max. These are not long clips. And in each one, you'll watch a teacher extend an invitation. I hope that you feel the feeling of, I would just love to be a teacher, a student in this teacher's class. You yourself may feel that way. And I'll be asking you, what's something the teacher did to help you feel that way? First up is Liz Clark Garvey from New York City. And she happens to be teaching the activity you just saw. What a coincidence. Shira's solution. Just have a look at what Liz does here and be thinking about what Liz is up to. What is a technique you can grab and adopt in your classes, even if you're not teaching Shira's solutions. Here we go. Hope that we can hear the audio in this one.
Did anyone have an interesting inequality? Did anyone have an interesting inequality that you entered and you're like, ooh, that was a surprising result that happened? What was an interesting one? So wait, so Lizzie, you said something about 1.5? Was it like that? X is greater than 1.5? X is greater than 1.5. Think for a minute. How many blades of grass is Shira gonna eat? I'm gonna press try it. Nice. So Shira ate a blade of grass. Now, if Shira really likes to eat grass, right, did anyone find an inequality that resulted in Shira being able to eat all of the grass, not just the one blade? Leo, what'd you get? Say it again. Like that? So X is greater than -2. Very cool. So you ate all the grass. Was anyone else able to have a different inequality that also ate all the grass? Micah, what was yours?
-3.
Can you read me the whole inequality?
X is greater than -3.
Cool. X is greater than -3, resulted in all of the grass. Adam, you had another one?
This one where X is greater than -48.
Let's see what happens here, because that's off. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, Zole.
Why is X is greater than -100 octoliter?
Oh my God. I'm going to say 100 for short. Doesn't do justice here. Interestingly, all of you guys are doing ones where Shira is over here and going this way. Beckett, do you have a different one that's like a... So X is less than 3. How is Beckett's different than the other ones? How does it look different? Yeah, Freddie. Nice. So in this case, you could use either one to achieve the goal of Shira eating all the grass.
So I see folks already responding perhaps, but I'd love if we could just take 30 seconds and think about what is something the teacher did in that video that made you feel invited. If you did, this is where I would like to learn from you folks. You folks have different experiences than me. I'm curious what you saw there that I didn't. So 30 seconds, type it in. Don't press enter yet. Don't press enter yet. Go team. Yeah, that's this is so great. I got like actual goosebumps off of some of these here. Amber calls out that, yeah, the pedagogy of like all she's got to do is just type it in and press enter. And before pressing enter, saying, what do you think is going to happen? And if the student did something new and different from the others, name it as new and different. And I think it's just so helpful that we accept really anything that is inequality-ish looking. Like it looks like inequality, we'll make it happen here. Yeah, student answers 100 for short. Yeah, like even seeking out difference, like seeking out, like I know there's something, someone did something even more different than these in the room. Where is it? She obviously knew some people that had done some things she wanted to call out there. I think this is really helpful. I hope that you folks have ideas of how you might respond to students, or how like inadvertently you might respond in ways that signal to students, like Zoe Lee, I believe it was, that like one negative 100 octillion, like come on, like I don't have the energy for this today, it's late. Can you get with the program? Like oftentimes the difference between turning that into an invitation is just having this environment where like, hey, well, let's see what happens, let's try it out. Or if the teacher just tried out her own experiments, that would feel also like an inauthentic invitation. Yeah, this is so helpful. Love it. I love it. All right, I'm going to show you a weird one. This is this is a very uncommon invitation in a math classroom. I happen to love it. This is someone who is, let me see, not that one, not you. I think it's called Tunnel Travels. Maybe I've got this one right here. Yeah, here's the deal on it is, so you select, it's about inequalities again. Select the vehicles that can fit in this tunnel. You might select them as a part of the warm up. And then it says here, sketch a vehicle that will fit in the tunnel. And there is like, I can offer you my very good rendering of a vehicle. And that's nice. That's really good. And see if it happens. See if it happens for us here. Come on, baby. Oh no, that's going to be tight. That's going to be, yes. Okay, that was close. That was not bad. All right. So you have here the curriculum, which I hope you see like makes room for students to get up to some nonsense, right? Like, what if I'm just going to see what happens if I just like ever so slightly increase the pitch on this right here, just a little bit, if I just like added an antenna right there, just like that. Okay. Should I try it? Should I try it, folks? Should I try it? Yeah, you want me to try it. I know you do. There we go. Let's see. Okay. Yeah. Ka-chunk. Okay. So let's just watch what someone does with this right here. Okay. This is Colin Campbell, California's very own Colin Campbell out of Bonita USD in SoCal. If you know him, let him know we were talking about him. In ways that are very positive. So here is Colin. This is again, this clip is about a minute long, and I'll be curious at the end of it what you noticed here.
Then this is where it gets fun. You get to draw a car. So like here is my best drawing. Yay! Be nice. Here's my car. And guess what, guys? Look, I can change colors. I can color it in. But then guess what? I'm creating this car, and I click try it, and I'm going to see if it's going to fit in. Oh! There we go. So, here's what you're going to get to do. You're going to draw your car. Do you think your car is going to be perfect the first time? No, I actually want you to make an imperfect car first. I want you to make a car that definitely will not fit. Then I want you to go back and fix it. Try to make it so it does fit. And then I want you to draw your best car.
Okay, so you can comment here on the teacher's demeanor, what the teacher said, what the teacher asked students to do. There's lots of angles to consider here if you felt the invitation. But again, like I love how in the past example, you folks didn't talk about the curriculum, the digital experience. You talked about the teacher's pedagogy, which is where I need your focus right now because I want to learn from you as well. So this right here, again, 30 seconds, waterfall. Don't press enter yet. Let me learn. Let me learn here. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I people are very much drawn to. It resonates with them. This invitation to draw any car, first of all, but also to draw a car that's not going to work, which I think does several things for a student. Yeah, like people have noted here, it normalizes errors. Like we are literally expecting errors because we are inviting them. But it also like helps the students map out the solution space. Like, okay, knowing what's not the correct answer helps us find the correct answer. And here, I think it's a problem that is fairly simple to solve correctly. So the value of asking for wrong answers is maybe less, but think about all the kinds of problems you might encounter or assign to students where you could, even without the digital environment, ask them for a wrong answer. Like asking kids to solve 2x plus 3 equals 5 says, hey, a certain kind of kid is invited here. Telling the kids, hey, here's a statement about some numbers, and one of them's unknown. 2 times x plus 3 equals 5. Can someone give me an answer that you don't think is going to work? An answer that doesn't work. A wrong answer here. Or to ask them for any answer. But like to jump straight to the solution says, hey, here is who is invited. To invite students to explore the problem space more expansively. Pick any number or pick a wrong answer in particular sends a very different message, a very different kind of invitation for students. Okay, I'm loving this. I'm going to offer you one last one and then we'll close up shop. Okay, I can't decide which one I'm going to share. Jen Esmendi in San Diego or Jayla Bryant in well, it's got to be San Diego. This is a California-based webinar, so we'll go with San Diego. This is Jen Esmendi in San Diego Unified. This is just a really interesting moment. It's not a technological lesson. It's a print-based lesson. It involves math that is, like that feels fairly abstract and logical. And watch what happens here to extend the invitation to more students thinking in other kinds of ways. So here we go, last one, and then we'll wrap it up.
I'm going to be passing out these cards, and don't work on solving yet. Hold off from solving. I would like you to take some time just to look at it and see which ones do you say is, actually let's just do it from here. Talk to your partner about which ones do you feel is the least difficult and which ones are the most difficult. So have a conversation with your partner right now about which one do you feel is least difficult, which one will be most difficult. So least difficult, which one would be the least difficult for you to solve here? Which would be easier for you to solve? Yes? A. So why do you say this would be the least difficult?
Gives us our why, so we just need to solve the x.
So you're already given your why here, okay? Anyone else want to share what you think is the least difficult and why?
Okay, this is the last time I'll ask you this. I'm looking for you folks to offer an insight that is unique to you and your experience, or one that is phrased in a way that only you can offer us here. We need you to offer something to the crowd here. So 30 seconds, type it in. Don't press enter. You folks are doing great at this waterfalling. And then we'll wrap it up. Curious what you saw with Jen Esmendi. Go team. Let's talk about it. Let's look at it. Collaboration before computation. You could put you could that could be a good tattoo. That's fine. I like that. Into it. Let's see here. Yeah, Daniel notes, I think, like the feeling of choice. Imagine you're invited to a buffet and it's like, well, there's a ton of food here, but you got to choose this one side. This is yours. But Daniel notes that, like, you get a choice of all the sides right here. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Annie calls out that it's opinion based, and ask yourself, how often is there room for opinions, for the subjective in a math class, where all too often the objective is prized. Stacy also calls out opinions, super helpful. And it almost feels like cheating a little bit, like which one's easiest. It's like the teacher admitting, like, hey, yeah, like we like to do the easy stuff, and let's just talk about what makes the problem easier and turn that into an instructional moment. So what I hope has emerged from this for you folks, this time together, which I have cherished and will continue to cherish, is that inviting students requires us to invite their thinking. Like, there's lots of ways to say, student, I invite you. There's ways to be kind and personable and sociable. None of those come naturally to me, but they do to some of you. What I've been working on myself, where I feel most drawn to, is creating experiences out of curriculum and technology, and using pedagogy to tell students that they're thinking, and therefore themselves are invited, especially the kinds of thinking that often don't receive an invitation in math class. Your vision, your touch, your intuition, your thought about it's easier or harder, your ability to just try something wacky out and see what happens. And so I'm going to, let me just here, this is my contact. There's no contact there. There's some questions that popped up in the chat. Hit me up if I didn't get to them. But I do want to close with two comments. One, I do hope that you felt, me walking my talk here. I hope you felt that even though we are there's a distance between us technologically and literally geographically, that in the way that I've treated you and your comments in the chat, bringing in Kyle and Cole to just kind of marvel and voice at the stuff you folks have brought, that you have felt invited by me in a way that I hope supports our learning here, to see, medium and message match each other, form and content. And I also just want to say that, like, this work, I love going to presentations about math teaching that involve more than math teaching. And some of you folks are new teachers at UC Davis, go Aggies. And this might not make sense at this moment, but I do credit math teaching with and the work of trying to, like, engage with people who are not like me at all, these students who dislike a thing that I love, and wrestling with that and building a toolbox to meet that challenge. All of that has really created the person that is me, not just like the professional that is me. Like, a lot of a student's feeling of invitation comes from your sense of sincerity when you say, so what do y'all have to think about this right here? And students can just smell out a lack of sincerity, like body odor. So I hope that you both feel the challenge and also the inspiration, that getting good at the invitation means getting good at being human in lots of ways. And I hope you find that as exciting as I have and do and continue to. Now, almost 2 decades in this work. So thank you for being here. Thanks for inviting me, Cole and team in California. Go California, go ever else. But I do love being a part of this community of educators here in California. Get in touch if I can support your work at all. And thank you so much for being here. Have a great evening, folks.
All right. Thank you, Dan, so much. We appreciate your time and the knowledge you just dropped on us over this last hour. Definitely some things I'm ready to go try back ASAP. So with that, let's give some love to Dan in the chat. He can't hear us, but we can tell him thank you and how much we appreciate him supporting us today. As a reminder, our webinar series will continue next month on May 16th, the third Thursday of May. We have Ed Campos joining us from Kings County, and he's going to definitely be bringing the energy next month as well. So we hope to see you there. And thank you all for joining us today, for taking some time at 4 to 5 o'clock after school for a lot of you in California here. So thank you for giving us the time today. We hope to see you next month. Thank you all. Take care.